Edward is an old and hard-working engine. His parts are worn and sometimes he clanks as he puffs along.
Oh my, what a racket!
And sometimes the other engines can be rude about his old age and mock his little imperfections.
Goodness me, my dear Edward. Whatever is that dreadful sound? You feeling quite all right?
Yes, thank you, Hercules. My fire bars are just a little loose, so lately I've been dropping coal every time I shump things a tad too hard.
Ha! You're getting old, Edward. Fancy dropping coal all over the line. It isn't dignified. You should be preserved before it's too late.
Henry, don't be such a drag.
I'm not a drag.
Edward, old chap, if you need repairs, I'm sure the work can find the time to fix you up.
It's quite all right, Hercules. I'll manage. Besides, I wouldn't want to inconvenience the Fat Controller in the busiest and most difficult time of the year.
Indeed. Well, if you say so, Edward, old chap, just be careful out there, all right? Toodaloo.
Mind you don't fall apart before Christmas.
Ah, Edward, I'd like you to take these vans of goods to Hercules at the harbour. If you leave quickly, you'll be able to get to the junction before Gordon passes with the express.
Yes, sir.
And Edward set off. As he puffed through the snow-covered countryside, Edward couldn't help but think about the big engine's harsh words about his deteriorating state. He was so busy mulling over his thoughts that he didn't see a gap in the rails ahead before it was too late.
Whoa!
Edward applied his brakes with a squeal, but the icy rails made him slip and the heavy vans pushed him on. With a bump, Edward hit the gap and derailed. Plough burst into a snowbank. His driver clambered down and surveyed the situation.
I see what's happened here. The freezing temperatures have made the rails ice up and shrink. These rails became so small they made a gap. Looks like the rail joints weren't fixed properly either.
And I think one of my fire bars has fallen out. My firebox feels awfully cold.
Well, usually in an accident like this, I'd have to drop your fire, but it seems you've saved me the effort.
It wasn't long before Percy had arrived with the breakdown train.
I've just come from Grosvenor Gate. Gordon is in an awful temper. You've delayed his express.
I'm awfully sorry about that. There was a gap in the line, you see. Hopefully I won't hold everyone up too much longer.
Don't worry, Edward. We're almost done here. We'll finish getting you back on the rails and be off so Gordon can make up time with the express.
Before long, Edward was back on the rails, and after a quick check, his driver deemed it would be okay for him to carry the train onto the harbour before going to the works. Edward had to stop at a signal just before the stretch of track he had derailed on. As he waited, a wave of realisation washed over him.
Oh no, I completely forgot. Gordon will be along any minute with the express. He's going to hit the bad bit of line. I must tell him before it's too late.
As soon as the signal dropped, Edward hurried up the line at a blistering pace. His coupling rods rattled, his cylinders hissed, and his firebox clanked, but he pushed on. Just as he approached the bad bit of line, he heard something which chilled his boiler in a way the snow never could. Gordon was coming up fast. As Edward rounded the bend, he saw Gordon just ahead. Edward whistled with urgency.
Stop, Gordon, stop! The track is broken! Apply your brakes!
But Gordon couldn't hear him over the sound of his own furious speed. He was doing his best to make up for lost time.
Out of the way, you silly little engine! You've already made me late enough as it is!
Edward applied his brakes, still whistling furiously. He came to a stop just as Gordon thundered by, whistling hard to drown out Edward.
It's too late!
Gordon approached the bad bit of line completely unawares. Edward reversed as quickly as he could, but he was too slow by far. Edward watched and listened as Gordon came to the place Edward had derailed. He waited for the inevitable crash, but it never came. A minute later, the sound of Gordon's train had grown too quiet to hear as Gordon rushed towards the station. Edward continued backward towards the bad bit of line. When he arrived, he was surprised to see no gap in the rails, just a pile of coal surrounded by melted snow.
Well, Edward, it seems you've inadvertently saved the day.
But how?
It seems your faulty fire bars dropped hot coal onto the shrunken rails. The heat must have made them expand just enough to close the gap and allow Gordon to thunder through without mishap. It's a lucky thing to be sure.
That night, Edward arrived in the works tired but happy. There waiting for him were Henry and Gordon, who looked solemn.
Well. What are you doing here?
My regulator's jammed.
Loose coupling rod.
Getting on in years, are we? Ah well, you'll soon get used to it.
Nonsense! This is routine maintenance. Besides, it's quite rich coming from you, old-timer. I wasn't the reason the express was late today.
I'll have you know that without my old age and failed parts, you'd be in the works for a much worse cause than a loose coupling rod.
Is that so? Why's that, then?
Because my loose fire bars dropped hot coal into the gap in the track. That made me derail. The heat made the rails expand and closed the gap. You didn't listen when I tried to warn you about the bad line, so it's a good thing my dropped fire saved the day in the end, eh?
The shed was silent for a long time.
I'm sorry, Edward. I shouldn't have been so rude, and I most certainly should have listened to you. Thank you for trying to warn me about that bad bit of line.
That's quite all right.
As snow began to fall, Edward sighed.
Merry Christmas, Gordon.
Merry Christmas, Edward.